Greetings, greetings. Peace, sovereigns. Welcome. Welcome to our midday motivation. It's always a pleasure to just greet you all. It's Thursday, and, we're back at it with our midday motivation. Always to inspire you, always to, move you or motivate you to think, to question. All right. And more so, most times to actually, you know, inspire and motivate you to actually shift and change the way you do things. So I'm here fighting with the bugs. Oh my goodness, because they're all over. It's so hot and it's really nice and warm outside. Toasty, super toasty. But today we're dealing with the fat food industry and just a few items I'm going to touch on sovereigns, but welcome as you trickle in and come on into the space. I want to greet you all. I will you having a blessed day, a great day, a productive day, and you have the clarity that you need to move forward. I'm going to greet all of you who are joining us. It's always good to see my sovereigns, Sister Stephanie, Ima Precious Stephanie, Sister Naya, and Brother Smith. All right, Brother Antonio, peace and welcome. I'm sorry. So my chat is tiny and is shoved, is pushed all the way to the side, so I have to almost squint to see it. But if you can hear me and see me, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So I want us to think about our temple, right? Are you ready to love up on your temple today, right? I keep thinking about that. Every time I rise, sometimes I think about, yeah, am I really willing to love up on my temple today? And are you willing to love up on your temple today? That vessel that the Most High gave to you to bring forward what you're here to do. You can't function and follow through with our purpose if our temple is raggedy and our temple is off and in a state of imbalance. All right. So, really important to think about what we put in our temple, not just food, but, words, sound, video, audio, all of it, because we're receiving from all of the different faculties of our physical self, but our spirit as well, too. And so, what we put in really many times dictates what comes out. So even though we're dealing with food, this is from a holistic perspective. So we have to think about all of the other things that affect affect us, all of the things we consume, right? Okay, everybody's greeting each other. Um, and you're probably saying though, like why love up on my temple? Well, our bodies were intentionally designed to house the spirit of the Most High. And so, if we were built with intention, we're now charged to maintain that body and that temple, right? And that charge, that charge is there so that we can make intelligent decisions about how we maintain that body, right? That physical body, but also that spiritual body too. So, I wanted to read a quick quote and then just jump in. The Anu Way states that when we stay true to the integrity of Yah's original enterprise, we reinforce the accurate formula which will sustain optimum health in the body and lively attendance on earth. So, if we stay true to the integrity of the original enterprise, we're not, you know, changing things, we're abiding by law, we're consuming based on the laws given to us, and we're walking that path, that righteous path, then yeah, le- we'll be able to attain optimum health, right? And so I think that when I think about optimum health, I think about not just again what we consume, but who's preparing the foods that we do consume, who's preparing the word songs that we listen to, or the advice that we're being given? Are we being, taking in wise counsel? Or are we taking in, just raggedy advice from any old person who doesn't matter? Same thing with the food, right? Because everything, I want to relate everything back to food. Um, Not that everything is about food, but it is an important part of maintaining our physical body. So, the reason I chose the fast food industry is to kind of highlight and show how, we have to attempt, and go beyond attempting. We have to try and find a way to control the foods and the food resources that we have, all resources for that matter, because what will continue to happen is we'll have other bodies making decisions about foods for us, right? So, and you're probably saying, well, where is she going with all of this? The first thing I wanted to point out was, uh, there were two episodes a couple months back that talked about um, I talked about certain poisons being in our foods, right? Arsenic and a couple others that are found in like toxic baby foods and so on. And so I like to read up about any, like updates in terms of news that has to deal with just food, farming, and agriculture. Um, and so one of the things I learned was recently that the EPA has decided to ban what's called chlorpyrifos, chlor, chlor, chlorpyrifos. I always mess up on those, right? And chlorpyrifos is a neurotoxic agent, chemical agent. All right. Please laugh at all my stumbling. And I actually, when I read about the ban, and I think I read about it 2 days ago, I said to myself, but that it was banned from household use since 2007, because I remember one of those, right? I remember using certain chemical agents at one point and realizing, oh wow, cleaning with certain things can actually cause um, harm to our nervous system. And that chemical came up as I was looking. In 2000, it was banned from use in the home, but they still continue to use it in agriculture as a pesticide. It's considered an insecticide. And I you know, I mean, this is not directly related to the fast food industry, but it is the food industry, because from since 2007, there has been an ongoing battle to ban this particular chemical from its use or being utilized as an insecticide in food. So why all this time, right? Why all this time? If a known chemical could actually affect me to the point where you ban it from use in the home, that way I'm not directly utilizing it, and I do not, we don't have direct contact with it. How could you not realize, since you're the ones doing all the testing and putting all of these standards in place, how do you not realize that utilizing it as an insecticide in food will actually it will actually get into my bloodstream? At some point my body will encounter this chemical again because it's being used in food. So there's this huge disconnect. And I think sometimes, they talk about the bans, they talk about all of the political back and forth and the battle, but nobody really talks about how much leeway the food industry actually gets, right? They play with us and they play with our health. And, you know, I know in this case it's the EPA, but I also consider that there are compromises that are being made at our expense, so just that's something to think about. Um, it is very difficult to find out which actual farms utilize this particular insecticide. So it's not like, there's anything proactive that I can offer for you. If there are things that you know about, please let me know. But I felt like it was necessary to share because, again, we're all consuming foods, and there are no, expectations in terms of identifying which farms use which particular chemicals and how those chemicals affect us. All right, which would be equivalent to consumer information, like consumer education. And I'm gonna always say whenever you start talking about the food industry educating consumers, they don't benefit from that. They're not benefiting from that. So you always have to question whether that is indeed the intention, if it's really to educate consumers, or if they have an ulterior motive. So I wanted to share that, and there were two other things that I thought was important to share. I kept having conversations with just other people who have been following a vegan, plant-based, or vegetarian lifestyle for a while. And, the big conversation is just like the plant-based meats or the meat alternatives. So I came across something called human protein FTO, which is something that is being considered as an actual protein additive to not to foods that we eat. Well, the reasoning is that if we do not consume it directly, it will not affect our levels of we won't become fat, right? If we do consume that particular human protein, right, we will become obese. So it has this particular protein has the effect of blowing up the human body. It just makes you put on a lot of weight, and it kind of increases um, levels of obesity the human in the human population. So the intention is to take the extract and use it to increase. Can somebody tell me what they think they're going to do with this? They, Tell me where you think they're going with this. So they've decided to not use it to actually feed us directly, but to actually use it to feed plants. They're actually using it to ensure that any product or any produce that is harvested is actually 2 and 3 times its volume in size. So because it has the effect of increasing obesity in the human body or human cells, the intention is to now use it so it can increase the volume or the size of the produce or harvest, right? So what that does is it drives down cost for farmers. So you know I don't even, I can't even imagine can't even begin to think about, how the integrity and the authenticity of the foods that we have, we're being presented with, and the foods that we have access to, all of these things are being compromised. And it's not because it's for our health, it's because, the food industry makes money off of it. And so it's really important to think about, like moving forward. I kept thinking about, the new current trend, which is the whole, what do you call it? It's a crate balancing act, right? Every people are finding crates all over the place. And I'm like, you know, we can't utilize that same energy and that same excitement about something as, you know, silly as stacking crates. We can't think about using that type of ingenious, excitement and put it toward, you know, stocking up on emergency food. I mean, I could use some of those crates myself. So, you know, if you're not sure what to do with them, right, because they miraculously just found themselves all over in all sorts of neighborhoods, if you're not sure what to do with them, I'll take them, right? Because I would be happy to use them for storage. I will be more than happy. And I'm sure I could share them with people who I know. But I'm saying all of that to say we're preoccupied with other things while, the food industry and other industries are making moves that will change the way we engage with food. It's going to change the type of nutrient content that we have available to us. Um, and if you think that utilizing that particular um, human protein in plants just to increase its size wouldn't affect us, the truth is that chemical is being synthesized inside of that plant. It's not going to be excreted from the plant. It's not going to be removed from the plant. It's going to become a wholehearted part of the biology of that plant. What happens when we consume it? Well, like I don't understand the thought process of that. And I'm not talking about something that is just an idea. This is this actual human protein FTO is real. It is real. It increases the size of plant produce by 50%. No wonder it would make a human obese or put them in their bodies in that level of imbalance. But the only thing that they can think of is it increases the harvest and it increases the amount of produce that they yield. And I guess increased yield means, more money. So, just be aware of these things. And, I'm sharing them too so that you can go dig up and find more information and educate yourself about some of the potential harm that you know, might be sitting right on your plate today, right? Um, I also wanted to just quickly share. Let me jump back into the chat. Reading, Sister Naya, is used in plants like a steroid. That's a great comparison. That's exactly what it is being used for. It increases the size, and it's interesting because when I was reading the report, they never used the word steroid at all. They made sure to stay away from that. So that's like a good point. They made sure not to include that. So you know, yeah, you just they there's a lot of there's a lot of weird, crazy science that is happening with our food, and we have to, we have to pay attention to it. And then that's the other thing. Um, the idea of educating the consumer is a lie. I do think that you know, that's something that's sometimes offered by some of the companies in the food industry because they're just trying to get ahead of the game. But it is, yes, it's deceptive. It is deceptive. Um, and so we have to watch that. We have to watch that. The other thing I wanted to quickly talk about. Can you imagine? Um, Oversized produce. Can you all hear me still? I actually have an notification that just took over the whole page, whole screen. Sorry. Song went low. It should be back now because um I kind of took off that notification. 1 second. I'm I should be back. All right. Is it better now? So what I wanted to hear, can you all share some of your some of the thoughts that came to you? I know Sister Naya shared that it's like using it's like it's being used as if it's a steroid on plants. But what are your some ideas or thoughts around you know just that? It doesn't have to be the ban that they put out, but it could be the idea of human protein and human protein utilized to actually grow our food, specifically because it increases the profit margin for the food industry. I mean, that's all it is, you know, increased yield. I want to know what you all think about that, please. And maybe you're okay with human. Uh, no, you tell me.
Tell me, am I still low? I don't think I'm still low, right? I can't tell. I have to always remember 20 second so I can pull back. I think you all can hear me. I think so. Um, but anyway, so Brother Antonio says there's been so much done to affect um people's ability get um to get real food that our DNA is. It's true. It's true. I mean, there has been the long battle of genetically modified food. There has been I mean, I know there are labels out now, but at the same time, there's so many things that are confusing even now um, around what is considered genetically modified and what is not, you know, and you know, I want to know who's creating those standards. You know, who's creating those standards? Kim Jones says, "Greetings, Kim Jones. I did not greet you. I saw you come into the chat while I was um, talking, but greetings, peace, and welcome. I think I've noticed you in the chat before, so welcome back because I haven't seen you in a little while. Peace and thank you for being here and sharing space with us." Kim Jones says, "I've used steroids for certain health issues, and yet it has made me gain weight, so the principles apply." Yes, it does. It does. It definitely does. Um, if you, that's why I'm not quite sure how the over concern around, you know, humans consuming this particular human human protein FDO, that being so much a concern because it can cause increased levels of obesity. Yet you would take it and put it in the plant, but we're eating the plant. You know, we're eating the plant, and the truth is, even if you say, okay, they're not going to use that the plants harvested for human consumption, you're going to use it to probably um, feed animals or cattle. Uh, yeah, it, it it's still the animal still has to process and synthesize the food, um, the chemical, sorry, and we then have to those who plant, those who eat animal meats or animal proteins, they still have to synthesize that. So I'm just thinking about um, how it affects not just those who are vegetarian or plant-based, but those who are not. You know, they use it in animals, plants, and humans. Yes, they do. This is true. This is true. But that's the thing. Um, this report doesn't identify it as a steroid at all. At all. It's they're naming it something different, and so that's also what is very deceptive about the way it's being presented. You know. All right. So the other topic I really wanted to just jump in and talk about really quickly, was the idea of um, trans fats, right? Because trans fats trans fats are found in everything, and I think once we start shifting into um, the vegan or plant-based lifestyle, we lean on, and I'm saying we because that happens to many. There's a leaning on carbs and pastries and other things, and those foods are, they're chock full of trans fats. The thing about trans fats is they can be banned, they can be removed, right? The and if they're removed or banned from us having access to it, it could actually save 50,000 lives, like upwards of that amount. And it may also like help to decrease healthcare costs. So But unlike other countries, here they make provisions for the food industry. And some of those provisions include, instead of banning trans fats because you know they're poisonous, right? And you know they cause it's a major cause of the increase in obesity in this country. Instead of doing that, they've allowed the food industry to say, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll increase consumer education. So consumers are gonna, we're gonna make sure they're aware of it. We're gonna inform them, right, that this is exactly what is in the food, right? So that's that's where the whole campaign for making sure the ingredients are on the labels and things are labeled properly. The truth is though, um, so it's both increasing consumer education, but also product labeling. And product labeling and accurate product labeling is also part of that education piece, because you know it's brought to your awareness, so you have choice, but it's still the illusion of choice. And I say that because if you know something will kill people, if you know it's a contributing factor to obesity, which is a huge problem, why still keep it in there? You know, why still include a poison and package it as food and then still say, okay, well, you have the right to know that this thing could kill you if you eat it, but here's the option. Everywhere else I know of, everybody else I know of, the what's what's rational, the what's sensible and rational would be to remove the poison from the food rather than include it. So trans fats are known to do so. They're known to increase again obesity in our communities and melanated communities. That is rampant. Why not remove it? Why allow for the food industry to actually, why compromise with the food industry and allow them to lean on the idea of, okay, we'll just zoom in or focus in on product labeling, when you know that the number one the number one marketing tool that they use. I'm sorry, I don't know what was moving in the tree. I just had to move for a second. The number one marketing tools that um, they use deception and they use manipulation. So you know, right? You know that the food industry can't be trusted. So why allow them to, first of all, decide how they're going to inform consumers while still putting the poison in the food, and then they still turn around and market the same product in the same way. A matter of fact, lie many on many occasions. I think back in I think there was a case back with a couple years back with Kellogg's and a couple other cereal companies, those companies that make all of the wonderful breakfast candies that many people consume as they breakfast. Um, I think one of the things was they compromised, and Kellogg's decided that, you know what, we're going to just um, increase not decrease their marketing to children. They said they would, but once they signed the contracts and everything, they actually did not, because there were loopholes. And rather than um, rather than actually decrease those, the observations actually shows that they increase their marketing toward children. And you know, the sad thing about it is when it comes to marketing, like as an adult, if I go into a store and they're marketing something to me and it's not there, I'm gonna make a rational decision. A child would not. Child is not. They'll throw a fit. They'll throw. They'll have like a whole fit on the floor, and they will not accept an alternative, right? Adults won't. So they're smart about their marketing. They're deceptive and they use manipulation. They use psychology. So how do we trust the same companies who are feeding us this to actually turn around and educate us as well? You know, that it doesn't seem it doesn't seem right. Like there's a loophole, right? There's something wrong with that. I'm gonna jump back into the chat. But Antonio says that's like putting a warning on a pack of cigarettes, which is exactly what happened with the tobacco industry. The same thing happened with the tobacco industry actually. Um, they chose to use what's called consumer education, and that's not my space. That's not my place. That's Sister Deidre MPH. She knows and can probably speak to this, um, from a much deeper perspective. But that's part of one of the issues that actually happened when it comes to the tobacco industry. The idea was that they would inform and educate the population, but the truth is, it turned out that they did not do so. It was a ploy, and you know how many lives have been lost. You know, so yeah, we can't be trusted. Kim Jones says they have not told the whole truth. We'll sell you poison, but as long as we tell you it's poison, it's not murder. Exactly, exactly. Heartless. Of course, heartless, because a profit margin is much more valuable than your life, any day. Profit margin. Like when I think about, the reason why they would do that, it's because it's the profit margin. It's how much I can get, it's the value of the produce or the product rather, and not so much the value of your life. Um, and the food industry will actually select food that is of lower quality. Um, and when I say lower quality, I mean lower nutritional value, right? Um, or they put more value in food items that are stabilized, right? So if something can, when I say stabilize, it means that it can sit on the shelf for way much longer or forever. All right, it's either it can stay on the shelf for much longer periods of time, or it just it just won't ever expire. That's the ideal product for them, not necessarily fresh fruits and vegetables, which has like you know the yeah one with one there's a gain, and with the other there's a loss. And so I think, um, when it comes to just considering prepackaged foods, I know sometimes there's a big convenience with that. Um, but at the same time, we have to look at how, when we purchase that convenient food, or those convenient foods, we're actually supporting more of the same, right? Pardon me, there's probably like a bit of a noise in the background. Excuse me. Let me know if you can hear me. Um, Brother Antonio says, at the same time, people are knowingly buying poison because it's addictive. From childhood, children are turned into junkies by their parents under the premise, this is just what children eat. This is true. Children eat what you give them. They eat what they see you eating. They eat what they're exposed to. They eat what the culture keeper of the homestead eats to them. Culture keepers are the mother, right? So yeah, children. This is interesting that you mentioned that, because that's the number one goal. When I read, I just wanted to like dig into a little bit more about some of those bigger brands. That's one of the statements that they made. Several of those companies, they not marketed to, and the bright colors and high pitched voices and the jingles, so much, and the imagery, they know exactly what they do. So it really it it brings us to a place where we realize there's a lot that we have to do to inform our youth, right? Let them know that they're being deceived and manipulated. Um, let them know that, but also offer them an alternative that is just that is much better. All right, and I don't mean much better in terms of like taste, but like youth, they want to know things. So I think these conversations are even conversations that can be had with them, because the one thing they don't like is to know that they have been manipulated and deceived. Nobody likes it. Nobody does. But we kind of think young people are you know just completely aloof at times, and they are true, but they're connected to that piece when it comes to deception. So it's really, I think that's really critical uh, point that you made, brother Antonio. That's really critical. They're literally targeting youth. They're targeting young minds that can't help it. But again, like I said before, it's that culture in the homestead that actually um, helps to create that separation, create that boundary, create that space, so that way there's a clear and definitive way um, that we go about our lifestyle, um, and so it doesn't infiltrate. Kim Jones says we're being told just enough for us to make sound decisions whether to live or die. We have to do our research. We definitely do. We definitely do. Um, and that's the point of bringing up some of these um, updates when it comes to the EPA and the bans on some of the chemicals, and even you know when I do see that there are recalls for food. A couple um, months ago, there was a recall for some sort of baby food, and that was directly connected to another episode that we did on toxic baby foods and arsenic and its presence in rice, and how that affects the I think one of the baby foods, Beach, the company Beach Nut was making. It's a baby food that's made out of rice. So, you know, it's just all intertwined. It's important to keep abreast of some of that, just so that we're aware of it. And if we're tailoring our lives in a certain way, and we're filtering and actually really separating ourselves, um, then it's going to become much easier, because it becomes very easy to identify what it is that is for you or your family or for your temple, which is the temple given to you by the Most High to fulfill the purpose, right? And if you could identify clearly the difference between what is for your temple and what is not, then it makes it easy, you know? But again, as I said, when you have things like that human protein FTO I talked about, and it becomes very difficult for you to decide, because even then, is it really going to be labeled? If I make a product with something like that, where is it on the label? It's not going to be on the label. You know why it's not going to be on the label? Because it has entered the food chain from way before, right? From the source. So it just becomes part of the DNA of that thing, but you don't know that it's there. But your body has to synthesize it, though. And so that's where the tricky part comes in. That's where the tricky part comes in. And I think that's why they may be they may be trying to sell it as a uh, more efficient um, form of increasing yields, that human protein FPO, of increasing product yield, because yield, sorry, because it can get lost in the system. It's not going to end up on a label, right? You're not going to say, okay, I'm eating this particular human protein thing. No, it's going to end up in um, again, like possibly the fertilizer, or um, spliced into. something somewhere and it does not end up on a label. So like we don't know. Greetings, shalom. We have a couple new people. I have a very tiny chat section here today, so I can't see all of it. I'm gonna get ready to wrap up. I'm gonna get ready to wrap up, and what I'll do is actually put the links to some of the articles that I read. If you all appreciate that, let me know. Put a thumbs up or a one in the chat. Let me know if you want to do some more digging into these. The purpose here is just to not really dive deep, but just to kind of give you an idea of what's happening and how you can follow some of that knowledge and keep abreast with what's happening um, and be informed. Readings top tier speakers, greetings, peace, 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 and Sister Kashia, shalom, and Chief Yuya. Am I low? Oh wow, I'm still low. Didn't think I was low. All right. Well, I'm getting ready to close. Thank you all for joining us. Sister Kashia says, no, there is a recall on baby formula with dairy based. Ah, see? Wow. Is it the same company? Is it I think it's Beech Nuts. Is it the same company that baby formula? No, I don't think Beech Nuts makes baby formula. Sorry. What do I know about baby formula? Dairy baby formula. I have no idea. But I wonder if it's the same company. Interesting. I wonder why the recall for the baby formula. Is it because of the dairy? How was it tainted? What's happening? Um, All right. So thank you. For the ones and the thumbs up, I will definitely put the link to the EPA ban and also the link to the use of and it's a very short article because it's very short, but there are a couple of other references that you can use and follow the trail to kind of build up your knowledge and understanding of how it's being utilized. Um, oh, Sister Kashia says it's actually more than one. Yeah. And so with all of the instability in the food industry and even the dairy industry and just how irregular things have been since the lockdown, I wonder if there have been um, just in terms of quality control, how quality control has actually affected some of the recalls that we're seeing. There was there were a couple of companies. I remember doing an episode on it, and I talked about a couple of companies that were actually trying to bribe their way into getting, or did bribe their way into getting, having their workers come back as frontline workers, so to speak, because of the fact that they were processing food and so on. So, I wonder about them. Going to the chat. So nice is hearing about these recalls on formula makes you think about the podcast kill them before they go. Yes, 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 yes. All of what we're talking about today is that idea of kill them before they go. This is crazy, you know. It's crazy what is being considered food right now. And we're being sold it and told to kind of turn a blind eye. Um, yeah. Sister Kushi says the brands are hip full, Boyland, and Kendamil. Kendamil. Okay, they're supposed to be organic. All right. Well, I will look up those brands and I'll probably add them. I'll probably add them. But that's interesting that there are all these recalls happening. So that's it for our episode today on the fast food industry. I did not just cover the fast food industry. I talked a little bit about just, um, an EPA ban. I gave some news updates, so to speak, and then just kind of gave an overall, review of trans fats and how they end up they happen to end up um, in our foods because of course it's easier to it's easier to utilize trans fats because again, trans fats help to stabilize foods and make them, you know, have a longer shelf life. And so the longer shelf life, it means profit margin opens up. So always pay attention to that. Pay attention to foods that have trans fats in them. And what I'll do is I'll actually leave a list on there as well. Um, but yeah, pay attention to foods that have trans fats. To buy them. And if you're wondering, one of the first things to move away from are all the vegan created, vegetarian created butters and things like that. Move away from them because the trans fats or the fats utilize to stabilize it so it can keep its solid um, shape. You know, there are other things you can do if you're using natural products, but for we know for a fact um, that that's what's being utilized. Chief says, "True sister and I are formula and baby should be doing the same." Exactly. Oh wow. Exactly. Wow. Wow. Well, you know, formula indicates some way of programming something. There's an ulterior motive or intention in there. Wow. So see you all again for our Sovereign Sundays. September is right around the corner, and we're gonna continue with our, we're gonna continue with our Thursday midday motivations and our Sovereign Sundays. Um, this Sunday coming up, we will explore some shakes. We're going to get into the coconut for all those people who are fascinated with coconut. We're gonna I love coconut, whether it's coconut flavor, coconut water, coconut meat. We're gonna jump into some of that. Just show you all how to make shakes with coconuts as a base. So come through, come with your blender, come ready to make right alongside with me. Hey, if you do and you want to get in on on um on the show, on the video, and you need to, kind of like show off what you're doing, hey, just, let me know. Put it in the chat. Um, or reach out to me via DM and I'll send you the link so you could join us. For our very first midday motivation next Thursday, we will be having a live conversation with a brother Chris. So brother Chris is in the chat right now. So thank you for joining us. But we'll have a live show with brother Chris, and we'll get into a lot of his experiences, and we're gonna flesh out that topic of addiction from his perspective and from his experience. We're going to talk about some foods and brain foods that can support you if you're going through that. um, and yeah, join us. Join us. I'll make sure to send out the notices. If you want a notice sent to you, let me know, and I'll make sure to put you on the list and send you a quick notification a day or two before, so that way you're ready for us and you jump into the chat and you're ready to ask questions and engage. See you all again. Thank you for being so supportive. Thank you for showing up. Again, thank you, Chief Yuya, for being here and being present and engaging. Thank you to Ima Precious. Thank you, Brother Antonio, Sister Kushia, Miss Kim Jones. Thank you for being in space. Join us again. Top tier speakers. All right. Peace and power to you all. Wellness is yours. Hold on to it.